Hello, my friends. You remember how I told you I was going to tell you all about my jars because I'm slightly obsessed? Well, today I'm going to tell you all about my jars. If you've been looking for a way to keep fresh food longer, without the mold, without the grossness, I think I have found the key to life. Like seriously, it's as simple as getting a glass jar out, putting your stuff in it and putting a lid on it. We're going to talk about all the different things that you can put in a jar. It's literally everything. Just spoiler alert. But we'll talk through it and I'll put some things in there to show you how this all goes down. So, I don't know, it was like a year ago, maybe even longer. My sister-in-law, hey April, told me, oh, jars are great, they'll make stuff last longer. And I was like, probably not. That's what I was like, nah. And then I decided to give it a try because that's usually how I am with new information. I'm like, let me think about that. And then I think about it for a long time and then I'm like, oh my gosh, it was so amazing. And I regret having not done it sooner. So I started out with strawberries. Hence why we're gonna put some strawberries in a jar while we get to chit-chatting. And it made my strawberries last, no joke, 7 to 10 days longer than just leaving them in this here container. So as simple as this, let me get a jar and I'll show you. One thing that I'm always looking for is ways to save money. So if I can make food last longer without it going bad, and I'm able then to eat it and not waste it, then I'm gonna be saving money, right? So we're not having to like, oh, hurry, get through all this fruit and vegetables, we're not really ready, or maybe things go bad because we didn't really check it over super great. Well, this has kind of been the answer. So I'm going through it, I'm making sure that none of these have mold on them. When you buy strawberries in particular, or like any kind of berry, any kind of anything, you're gonna wanna look all around the container that it's in and make sure nobody's juicy. We don't want any juicy ones because those tend to make these guys go bad faster. So dry is really important. Now you notice I didn't wash these first. These are straight from the store. I threw them in this jar. Would washing them be fine? I don't know because I haven't done that. I mean, it's gonna last for a while because the jars really are magical, even though mine are just from Target and Walmart. But they're still like, there's some kind of magic. And you can use whatever kind of jar that you have. But making sure that it stays dry is super important. Making sure there's no moldy ones in here. There's nothing growing fur on it or legs or brains or whatever. These are not zombie strawberries. We can't be having that. So dry is the key, and then wash as you go. When you're ready to eat them, wash them however you like to wash them. If you do baking soda, if you do vinegar, if you just do water, if you like to just eat them straight like this, you're probably superhuman and that's awesome, do it. The lid goes on and now it goes in your fridge. That's it. Easy, right? Even you can do it. I'll show you a couple things that have done really well with this method. These are blueberries. These blueberries have been in this jar, I think, for 3 weeks. You guys, there's no mold. I don't know if you can tell in the jar. They smell just like I bought them. Oh, that's nice. They taste just like I bought them. There's nothing. There is no mold in here. No joke. Dry. Made sure they were dry. Put them in the jar. You might get some condensation in there. If you want to take them out a day or two later and dry them again, just for like safety measures. Who's had blueberries last 3 weeks in their fridge with no mold, with no gross? As if I just bought them, no joke. I don't use full onion usually when I'm cooking, or I'm using some diced, some chopped, some just sliced, whatever it is, and then I always have leftovers because I don't tend to use the entire thing. These have been cut for, no joke, these have been cut for 4 weeks. You guys, 4 beautiful weeks. Do you see anything nasty going on in there? I don't. Now that's just a piece of like the little outside part. But I've used these recently. They smell great. They're not over the top. They are looking divine. What else do I like to put in my jar? Well, you guys know, if you were around for one of my videos recently, I took my bread flour jar and I thought, I wonder if I could put the peppers in there whole because I have cut them and one of them is cut. These have been in here now for a week and they are gorgeous. They're still firm. They smell good. They're not moldy. You know how peppers can be and they get all weird and squishy. And I'd already had these in my fridge for a long time. And then I realized like, oh man, I don't want those to go bad. So I put them in here. They have been in my fridge for 4 weeks. They've been in the jar for just a week. Okay? What else? How about herbs? Herbs can go in there. Now, I have a real big problem with rosemary. I buy it with really high hopes of using it. Every single time I think, I am gonna make focaccia with rosemary. I'm gonna make da-da-da with rosemary, and then doggone it. By the time I'm ready to use it, I'm telling you the last 3 times it's been moldy by the time I get to it because I wait so long. Again, it smells divine. I've had these for 3 weeks. I mean, there's not an ounce of mold on there. They smell good. They're fresh as a daisy. And these were from ALDI. And ALDI can occasionally, well, probably a little more than occasionally, their produce goes bad faster. So I've heard lots of people tell me like, you know, ALDI produce, you gotta eat it quickly, which I agree with. I've had the same problem. But if you eat it quickly, like it's all good. Well, what if you're not ready to eat it quickly? You get yourself a jar, that's what you do. And then you start saving money. You start wanting to buy fresh things more often because you know they won't go bad right away. You're eating healthier. I mean, do you see like the domino effect of what it can be to use something that's going to preserve? And jars are great. It's made of glass. There's not like, you know, plastic toxins, all of that, if that's something that's really important to you. Now, this right here is sage and it looks gorgeous. I 100% know that that would have gone bad had I not put it in a jar because you know, I bought it thinking I was going to use it right away, but knowing myself, I wasn't. It was all a lie. So I've got berries. These will probably last 7 to 10 days. The strawberries past what they would normally last. So say they would last 4 days at your house, okay? 3-4 days. Stick them in a jar. Now you've got them for a week, week and a half, maybe a little longer if you really got a good batch. And then blueberries, these have been in here for 3-4 weeks, just hanging out there every little bit. I get a handful of them. And it's so nice because then I can buy something that I enjoy that might be more than I can eat or more than our family's going to eat, and I can just nibble at it. Really, I'm the only blueberry lover, with maybe Nola eats a little blueberry here and there, but I still put it on their snack plate hoping that one of these days they're just gonna eat it and go, oh, I've seen the light. But they haven't seen the light yet, so it is what it is. Now, now another thing that I've got is I have broccoli. I will say that when you take the lid off of broccoli, holy mastacholi, that is intense. So you need to air this baby out, okay? Let it have some breathing room. Don't get too close to it until it's had its moment. But this was washed and cut because we were just using it and then we didn't use all of it. We use it for a snack plate mostly. So it is being preserved in here. Everything looks gorgeous. There's a little bit of condensation in there, but this was dry when I put it in. But like any fresh type of a thing, it holds onto that little bit of moisture. So it's making some condensation in there. And if you want, the next time you open it, just take everything out, dry it real quick, and then put it all back in there and you're good to go. Carrots, how do we preserve carrots? Typically I just leave them in the drawer and I've been putting a paper towel in the bag with them to make sure that there's not too much moisture. But if I know that I'm going to use it within like the next 2 weeks or so, I cut them however you want, cut them, stick them in a jar. You definitely can do it without the water, dicing them, because it does have that moisture in there already. It probably won't dry it out in the jar. But if you want to just make it last a little longer, be a little fresher, I feel like the water is good. Say you're going to chop it up for a salad or something, totally fine. Leave it in your fridge and it'll be happy. What else can we put in a jar? I don't know. Let's go find out. Okay, I'm gonna do a couple more things in a jar and we'll talk about it as we go along. Your fridge is going to look like a science experiment, and I say more power to you. There is so much great stuff to save and make sure that it gets used up in a timely manner, but at the same time doesn't go bad before you're ready to use it, because not everything you buy is for this moment, right? Sometimes it's for a few moments down the road. And that's how it should be. You should be able to save it and preserve it. Let's cut this stuff up. Raspberries. These need to make sure that they're dry once again. So you can just kind of go through them a little bit. Make sure that nobody's moldy. Mold is not invited to this party. If you're into that, let's have a discussion. Please tell me you're not into that. These are dry, unwashed, unmoldy, not so wet. Going on in. And so something I'm passionate about is making sure that the food that we buy doesn't go wasted and that we can eat more fresh things. We're a family that likes fresh food. We're not big into like canned things. We're not big into casseroles. We're not big into that kind of thing. And I always felt like, what am I supposed to do about that? Because it doesn't last as long. And so being able to have things at the ready and being able to know that the things that I bought 6 days ago are still going to be good when I'm ready to make that meal is really important to me. And so I think that's why I've kind of like fallen in love with the idea that we can actually make our fresh food last longer. And we can do it relatively easy. I mean, you can pop over to a thrift store. Maybe you've even got a friend next door that's got a bunch of jars they're done with. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money to help preserve your stuff. These are easy to wash, easy to use. They are heavy duty, so we're not having a lot of issues with warping and all of that kind of stuff. And it really does make sure that you can't finish something. Guess what? You can just put it in your fridge and it can be saved for another day. So I am going to talk about this, but I'm not going to do it now. This is a lemon. Welcome, lemon. Say you use part of him or use the zest of him. 4 weeks or more. Stay in a jar. I've had a lemon in a jar for over 4 weeks that has been cut open and it looks like I just cut it. Perfection. You guys have seen it. I've showed it to you in my all sorts of times when I'm in my fridge and shown that to you. So I think that's a really fantastic one. Let's go over to green beans. Green beans have been in a bad way lately at my store, so finding good ones is super important. Now these are from ALDI, and so I'm just gonna go through. Once again, these are dry, straight from the store. I have not washed them first. This one I don't really like. No, thank you. So you have to do a little bit of work at the store. Make sure nothing's juicy. Make sure nothing's nasty. And then make sure that you have a jar that fits everything. I don't feel like that jar is going to do it, is it? Let's see. Let's see. Everybody's looking pretty good. But even if you do have to wash it and you just want like a week where everything is super simple, if you're going to wash something, let's say you're going to wash cauliflower, you're going to wash your broccoli first, you're going to wash your strawberries or whatever because you just need something super quick to go to work, send the kids to school with, and you don't want to hassle with it, you take an hour or two on a Sunday and wash it all up, but lay it down on a towel and really give it a good, like, doggy dry. Does that make sense? Ooh, see, that one's not speaking to me, neither is that one, so I don't want him going into the party. You gotta be kind of particular, because that's what's gonna make everybody else in this party last. And then we'll put the lid on. So if you need to prep, and you need to wash everything first, don't hesitate to do that, but dry it very, very well. Use a towel, use a paper towel, keep the jar open for a little bit on your counter, and then stick it in the fridge and you should be good to go. Will it last quite as long? Maybe not, but will it last you for the week if that's what you're after? Absolutely, and then everything's at the ready, and that's what's so helpful in making sure that we're eating healthy and making sure that we're putting fresh goodness into our body, right? Okay, he's good. How about clementines? How many of you have opened up a clementine for your kids and they eat 3 of them and then they're like, nah, I'm done. And then you put it in a plastic bag and you put it in your fridge and it gets this weird hardness on it and it becomes like the texture gets all kind of weird. Maybe that's just me at my house, but that's how it works around here. So I've been putting leftover clementines into a little jar like this guy or something of similar size. And then the next time that they want a little snack, guess what? It's already there and everything's just ready to go. Aren't I clever? Yeah. Okay, let's say cucumber. We usually use half of a cucumber for a snack plate, and then we have some left over. I'll show you what I do. I always peel mine right before I use them. So let's say that I used half of it, I peeled it, I sliced it up for the kids. Now I've got this left over. All I do, it's dry, it's unwashed, and it's unpeeled. If you want to use it with the peel on, all you have to do is wash it off, and you're good to go, right? Everything in the jar is dry, except for a little bit of moisture coming from the actual vegetable. And there we have it. Now it's ready to go for snack plates for the week. Let's talk about cilantro. I've had success saving these in the fridge. I was buying these weekly, and they didn't seem to be lasting. So what I did was I kind of clipped the ends and I put them in a little tiny jar and I set them in the fridge. Well, I'm gonna try something different this time because 1 or 2 times that worked super good and then some of the times it didn't and the leaves started getting all weird. So I am just gonna do a quick trim on the bottom of these guys, okay? Because just like when you get a bouquet of flowers, you trim the ends and that helps for it to soak up some liquid. I'm also going to take out any little leaves that aren't perfection, and I'm actually going to stick them, I'm going to stick them in here, am I? Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, whoa, okay. So then I've just messed it all up, but I'm going to stick them into here, both of them, and I'm going to lightly put the lid on because I think too much oxygen was getting to the leaves and making them gross. And with cilantro, the leaves are really important. Okay, so I've got just a tiny bit, right? Because these little stems are just cuties and they're just tiny. And then I'm going to stick those babies right up in there. Now the other thing I need to do is this one. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to take it out of the package. I'm going to trim, now see the bottoms? Got a little bit of weird on it, so I'm just going to trim it. We don't want the weird. The weird will make more weird. It's like weird DNA makes more DNA weird, you know? You ever know a whole family of weird people? I mean, do not include my family in that, thank you. I'm weird, I'm hoping it, well, actually I don't mind being weird. Anyway, moving on. Okay, we're gonna also get these little cuties to stick in here too, if we can. I believe in you, I believe in you. Okay, cute as a button. And I'm just gonna lightly, not all the way, and remember that we do have the water down at the bottom for the stems. At any point, if this starts to last a really good long time for you, I take them out, switch out the water every little bit. It's not really gonna be evaporated too much or soaked into it a whole lot because these aren't like a big, huge thing, but getting fresh water every now and again will go a long way. Now the other thing I want to do are onions. I've had people tell me all sorts of ways to do onions, and I have yet to really find a way that speaks to me. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do here. Now, these guys, once again, we're going to get the weird off because we don't need that business. I need these to last me a little bit because I'm not quite ready to use them, but I've got them. This guy, he needs to be cut. Okay. So I'm going to use a really tall jar for this one. I want to make sure that they're kind of down in there, but not too far. And then tiny bit of water in the bottom. So for these guys, tiny bit of water in the bottom. Cuties are headed on in. And I'm making sure, remember, all the weird has to go. We can't be having weird, but don't get obsessive. We don't have to be obsessive about it, but we do need to be diligent. Okay? There's a difference, whatever that difference is. I hope you find it out because I'm not sure I found it out yet. So there's Guy. He's not going to get a lid, but I might wrap a little bit of plastic wrap around him just because it seems good. Or maybe a plastic bag. Yes, that's what it is. Okay, let's cut up our cauliflower. Once again, I'm not washing this first, but if you want to wash it first, and have it ready for the week, awesome. The thing with cauliflower is, man, it can turn and start getting all those brown spots on it and very unappetizing. Not interested in that at all. And then I think what's nice too is when our food is prepared, it's ready to go, it makes it a lot easier for us to want to eat it, don't you think? When it's already there. Something about cauliflower, the idea is always exciting, but the follow through of like preparing it, not my favorite. So this has helped me a ton just to get it going. It doesn't lose its moisture. It doesn't get all like flimsy and weird. It stays nice and crisp and delicious as it should. We want to eat fresh, crisp, delish, unmoldy, non-moldy, a no mold food. We don't want to eat mold is what we're saying. Am I getting you guys excited about this? Tell me in the comments your favorite thing to put in a jar if you're already doing that. I want to hear about it. Okay, and then it's dry, unwashed, lid on the top. Remember those lemons I told you about? How about we do that with a lime? Same concept. You can cut it. It can be in quarters. You can have zested it. You throw it in a jar, any kind of jar, with a good strong lid, and bam, now you've got something that will last you a really long time. Do you know how you only needed a squeeze of it for that one recipe? And then now it's like, well, what am I gonna do with the rest of it? So usually it just goes bad, and then you feel bad, and then you're like, oh, I wasted, and then you're like, man, I don't want to make these cool recipes anymore because stuff always goes bad because I don't use it up fast enough. Here's the answer to all of your problems, right? Yes. Welcome to my office. All right, so what else can we put in a jar? How about you cut up some salad, okay? And you didn't put dressing on it, and you didn't put anything else really in it, and you need to preserve it. You can grab yourself one of those huge jars like I use, the 128 ounce jars. I'm sure there's even bigger ones. Make sure that it's really dry. Lay it out on a towel, blot it with a lot of paper towels. After you've let it dry, you can even let it sit on the counter for a little bit to make sure it really gets dry. If you have a salad spinner, you can use that too. Stick a paper towel in the jar if it's just, you really want to feel confident about it, and throw the lid on. A good thing to remember about all food, especially fresh food, is that no matter what magical trick you use to make it last, eventually it's not going to be good. So you do have to eat your food. We're not just going to buy it and put it in jars and hope that it lasts for the rest of the year. Like, that's not a thing. But you throw it in some jars and it can like double, triple the amount of time that it usually lasts in your fridge. And I think that's a pretty big win. Other things that you can put in your jars, like we talked about, are herbs. Put those herbs in there. My goodness, I can't believe how long the rosemary has lasted for. My heart is so happy. How about sugar snap peas? How about snow peas? We put sugar snap peas in there right from the store. Those were like in perfect order even a week later. It was so awesome. It didn't get that flimsy kind of weird texture to it. It was beautiful. You've got your green beans, you've got your peppers, you've got your berries, you've got leftover orange pieces that you didn't use, or citrus, lemon, lime, that kind of a thing. And then onions that have been chopped will last a ton. Peppers that have been chopped will last a ton. Jalapenos, tomatoes, all of that stuff can really last a long time. And that's another thing that I would say that you can do before you've cut your tomatoes. I have a bad habit of putting tomatoes in my drawer and then not using them, and then they go really weird texture and mushy and moldy. Stick 3 or 4 of them in a jar, and then now you've got tomatoes that are gonna last. You know that the season for tomatoes is coming up, where you're gonna be growing a ton of tomatoes or a ton of fresh food, and you want it to last. So start investing in some of those jars so that when the neighbor has a bunch of leftover things from their garden, and they're like, hey, you want these? And you're thinking, well, there's no way I can use 100 tomatoes. Yes, you can. You don't even have to eat them, preserved. You can actually have them fresh and they might last well. Maybe not 100. That seems a little dramatic, but maybe so. I like to be a little dramatic. It's fine. Maybe you've got something that you got from the farmer's market and throw those in some jars. And then salad can last. Some people say don't put it in a jar. Some people say do. I think as long as it's dry, you're in pretty good shape, and that's gonna last you a good long time. Zucchini goes great in a jar. Oh, what about grapes? Anybody buy grapes and they're like perfect? I mean, just gorgeous. And then they're not anymore? And you're like, what? Stick those cuties in a jar. My preference would be to leave them on the vine and keep them dry. When you buy them, if you can buy your grapes on a green vine rather than on a dark, shrivelly vine, it means that they're fresher to the source or fresher to the picking when that vine is still green. So then bring them home, throw them in a jar, and then just wash them as you go. If you wanna wash them and take them off the vine, that's okay too, but I think they're gonna last a little longer if they're dry and on the vine still. Now, cut up apples. You might find that you can save those in a jar. I would like to do that experiment actually, and just see how long can a cut up apple last without changing color, without really getting all slimy, and weird textured. Also, I have put avocados in a jar, and my little trick with the avocado, I learned this from our friend from Mexico. She said that they keep the avocado pit in when they make guacamole. So maybe they make a huge thing of guacamole, they save the pit, and they put that in there, and it helps for things not to brown as much. So I have taken on that little trick, and I leave the pit with the avocado. So say like I only need half of an avocado. The one with the pit still left in it, when I twist it open, is the one that's gonna go in the jar. And once that lid goes on, it really helps to keep out the extra oxygen, which is what turns your avocado brown and kind of yucky and unappetizing. So if you don't want it to do that, stick it in a jar. I mean, are you guys picking up what I'm laying down? This jar business is really, really fantastic. And why didn't I do this sooner? It's because I'm slow. I like to think about things for a real long time and then finally bite the bullet and do it. I think we're just coming up on a great time to really test it out and see how our fridge and our jars and our fresh produce and everything work together to make it last for us. So I would love to know what kind of things that you're sticking in a jar, what kind of things you're interested in saving. Pretty much just put it in a jar. Whatever you got, put it in the jar. and it should last a really long time. So that's my story, I'm sticking to it. And happy eating, my friend. Happy no more food waste, huh? Happy make stuff last until you're ready to use it because you be the boss. All right, well, you take care, have an amazing day, and I'll talk with you guys really soon. Bye. And here, my friends, is the beauty of the jars. Look at all that goodness. Ooh, bon appetit.